assignment? Well, probabilities are meant to describe your beliefs about which sets are more likely to occur versus other sets. So there's many ways that you can assign those probabilities, but there are some ground rules for this game. First, we want probabilities to be numbers between 0 and 1 because that's the usual convention. So probability of 0 means we're certain that something is not going to happen. Probability of 1 means that we're essentially certain that something is not going to happen. So we want numbers between 0 and 1. We also want a few other things. And those few other things are going to be encapsulated in a set of axioms. What axioms means in this context, it's the ground rules that any legitimate probabilistic model should obey. You have a choice of what kind of probabilities you use, but no matter what you use, they should obey certain consistency properties, because if they obey those properties, then you can go ahead and do useful calculations and do some useful reasoning. So what are these properties? First, probabilities should be non-negative. Okay? That's our convention. We want probabilities to be numbers between 0 and 1, so they should certainly be non-negative. The probability that event A occurs should be a non-negative number. What's the second axiom? The probability of the entire sample space is equal to 1. Why does this make sense? Well, the outcome is certain to be an element of the sample space, because we set up a sample space which is collectively exhaustive. No matter what the outcome is, it's going to be an element of the sample space. We're certain that event omega is going to occur. Therefore, we represent this certainty by saying that the probability of omega is equal to 1. Pretty straightforward so far. The more interesting axiom is the third rule. Before getting into it, just a quick reminder. If you have two sets, A and B, the intersection of A and B consists of those elements that belong both to A and to B, and we denote it this way. When you think probabilistically, the way to think of intersection is by using the word and. This event, this intersection, is the event that A occurred and B occurred. If I get an outcome inside here, A has occurred and B has occurred at the same time. So you may find the word and to be a little more convenient than the word intersection. And similarly, we have some notation for the union of two events, which we write this way. The union of two sets or two events is the collection of all elements that belong either to the first set or to the second or to both. When you talk about events, you can use the word or. So this is the event that A occurred or B occurred, and this or means that it could also be that both of them occurred. Okay, so now that we have this notation, what does the third axiom say? The third axiom says that if we have two events, A and B, that have no common elements, so here's A, here's B, and perhaps this is our big sample space. The two events have no common elements, so the intersection of the two events is the empty set. There's nothing in their intersection. Then the total probability of A together with B has to be equal to the sum of the individual probabilities. So the probability that A occurs or B occurs is equal to the probability that A occurs plus the probability that B occurs. So think of probability as being cream cheese. You have 1 pound of cream cheese, the total probability assigned to the entire sample space, and that cream cheese is spread out over this set. The probability of A is how much cream cheese sits on top of A. Probability of B is how much sits on top of B. The probability of A union B is the total amount of cream cheese sitting on top of this and that, which is obviously the sum of how much is sitting here and how much is sitting there. So probabilities behave like cream cheese, or they behave like mass. For example, the total mass over the mass of a set, if you think of some material object, the mass of this set consisting of two pieces is obviously the sum of the two masses. So this property is a very intuitive one. It's a pretty natural one to have.